You've been wanting to try cloth diapers, but you're trying to figure out how do you fit it into your busy routine. As moms, there always seems like there's something competing for our time, so is it even possible to cloth diaper as a busy mom? Today's question comes from Eagle Eye Prepping. She writes, I have a nice set of cloth diapers, but I have yet to use them as time seems to be the main reason. I'd love tips on how to manage the cloth diaper process daily with a busy schedule. Before we answer her question, if this is the first time you're joining us, my name is Brianna, fellow mom and money coach, and here we talk about real money and real life. With that, let's dive into today's conversation. Let me just say, you can do it as a busy mom. I actually worked 40 hours a week when I first started cloth diapering, and so I'm going to kind of tell you my fails and successes in the process. So the reason I started cloth diapering was because I had two kids in diapers and I was seeing our diaper bill gradually creep, and I just got to the point where I was just like, I have this stuff, let's just try it. There's no more investing. All I have to do is just test a system. But there's still a lot involved of figuring out, like, how do you wash? How do you fold? How do you prepare the diapers and what all that looks like when you're also working a 40-hour-a-week job. So here's the system that worked for me. So you're starting with a clean batch of diapers that you've never used before. You'll use the diapers throughout the day. And then I found that as soon as I would get off of work and, I would be immediately into mom mode. So we're doing dinner, we're doing the nighttime routine, and it just was not realistic for me to address the diaper situation as soon as I got off of work. So as soon as my kids were tucked into bed and they were down for the night is when I would address the diapers and put them in the wash. When they are just consuming breast milk, their solids are water soluble, so you don't have to do a lot of pre-washing. But as soon as they start consuming solids, then you do have to do pre-washing and pre-spraying in the toilet and get all of that solid material disposed of properly. Now, if you're at this point and you're just like, yuck, why would anyone do that? I did it with using rubber gloves. And as I got more experienced with it, there's just this really strange phenomena that comes over you and just you're like, it's just poop. And maybe it's just the fact that I, grew up in the country and being around farm animals. It's just the natural order of things. And I kind of got to that point where I wasn't even using rubber gloves. So if you start out and you want to use rubber gloves, pick some up at a department store that you can probably get them for $1 or $2 and use that to pre-rinse your diapers in the toilet. You can also get a toilet attachment, which I'll link in the description below. You can attach to your toilet and it can help, clean the solid poop off your diapers so it can be prepped to go into the wash. Once they were once they were cleaned in the toilet, they would go into the wet bucket, wrung out, and then from there, I would just put them directly into the washing machine to wash. And you can choose if you're going to line dry them or tumble dry them. And because I was trying to be a little bit more budget conscious, I would take them out of the dryer and then I would hang dry my diapers to dry overnight. And I had enough cloth diapers, that I was able to go 2 full days without needing to wash, but I chose to work it into my routine to wash every single day. After I took them out and I line dried them, it was a little bit funny because at this time we were between houses. We had just sold our first house and we were living in this little modular trailer that was just over 1,000 feet, and you couldn't hang laundry outside. So there was this really tiny little built-in shelf right above the washer and dryer. And I would clip these cloth diapers with clothespins to hangers, and I would just line them up to dry. And then I would use the curtain rod in our bathroom and just hang them there too. And we had 2 bathrooms, so both curtain rods were completely covered in diapers hanging to dry overnight. I know it's a little bit extreme, but I think it's important to just share my experience, and then you can kind of get a chuckle or a laugh or say like, wow, she's a little crazy. But I told you I was doing this to be budget conscious, and I was willing to try and save and go to the extreme of any way I could to see just like, is this really worth doing? Does it actually save me that much money? So I was trying to cut corners, cost corners any way I could just to kind of, test it out. Once I hung them to dry, they were there overnight. And then in the next morning, since I was working from home, I would take my 15-minute breaks and fold diapers because we had enough for the next day, but then I would just make sure that I'm restocking my pre-folded diapers for when they needed to be used during my breaks, during my little lunches, like here and there when I could grab a few minutes. And then any time that I actually didn't have time to fold the remaining amount, I would just fold those while I was waiting for that load to be in the wash and ready to hang dry. Now, I was trying to figure out a little bit of system of where the diaper is going to live while they're waiting to be washed. And this is my fail, okay? Like everyone has a little bit of a fail story was when it comes to diapers. So here is one of mine. And I say one because I have many. So coming into this cloth diapering experience, I thought like, I don't really want my diapers to stink. So this was my fail, okay? I had this genius thought that like, well, water keeps, things from smelling. So I took an old trash can, I filled it up with water, and I would have all of the pre-rinsed diapers go into a bucket full of water. Now the problem is how everything that's in this nice big bucket of water, like the pee and whatever little poop residues are left, then I'd have to wring the diapers out to go into the washing machine. So I quickly abandoned that idea, so it was definitely a fail on my part. Don't do it that way. But you kind of have to make some fails as you go through figuring out a system that works for you. So that was the routine that I used as a working mom. This is how my routine changed once I was at home. So again, we're doing the pre-rinse in the toilet. I'm still using that wet bucket, but I changed to washing them immediately in the morning. I would do that right before I would get my kids up. I might have to wake up a little bit early, or I would let them stay awake just in their rooms. They were safe and content, and I would start the wash. During their nap or quiet time is when I would go to hang my clothes, and it was enough of a cost savings for me that I continued to hang my diapers. Again, you can decide if that's as extreme as the way that you want to go. If you just want to tumble dry them, I'll leave that up to you. So I would hang the diapers to dry during their nap or quiet time. Because I was using the line to dry them, when I would hang up diapers, I would take down the other dry things. If I'd get to the end of the evening and not everything had been folded, I would fold the rest real quick. So that way I'd have a fresh batch of diapers by the next morning. Just to keep in mind that if you're married, to make sure that your husband is on board, because he may have to be involved in the process. So when I told my husband that I was interested in cloth diapering, he was like immediately like, okay, that's fine if that's what you want to do, but I want nothing to do with it. And it kind of worked out in the fact that he also worked when I was working, so he didn't have to change diapers during the day. It was kind of nice because I was working remotely, and then my mom was able to come and watch our cowboys in our home while I worked. My mom, having all this diaper experience, was very graciously willing to do that for us throughout the day while she was watching and caring for my sons. My husband was pretty disgusted with the thought of using cloth diapers. He was completely on board paying the price, so he didn't have to deal with all of the system involved, but he did tell me and warn me to say that if this was something that I was going to do, it was going to have to be on me. So I knew that I was like taking on the majority or all of that responsibility when I went into testing out this cost corner cutting by using cloth diapers. But as I used them and I became more comfortable with the routine, he started to become more involved just naturally on his own. And really outside of the washing and the folding and the drying, the cloth diaper is really not that much different as far as the changing process of the diaper between a cloth and disposable. The thing where it gets more complicated is that first pre-rinse where you're getting all of that poop off of the cloth diaper before you're actually washing it. And he eventually did come around to the point where he was willing to do that, even though he was good-natured about it, but he did just let me know several times, especially if there was a really bad diaper, why are we using cloth again? Why don't we just use disposable? So just be aware of how your husband is, going into that conversation. There would be several times where I would just be like, hey, you're home this weekend. Let's just use disposable, because I knew that even though he was a good sport about it, that it really wasn't the thing that he wanted to be doing on the weekend off after he had just worked a really long week. So keep that in mind, that whatever decision you do implement, your spouse should be part of that consideration, and you should be working as a team for whatever you guys decide to implement. So if at this point in the conversation, you're still like, yes, I am willing to give this a go, I have 5 things for you to keep in mind. The first is, if your child does need to go to daycare for any reason, some daycares do not accept kids in cloth diapers, so make sure to know what your daycare does and does not accept, because you may need to still keep them in disposable for that time period that they are at daycare. The second thing is, it is going to take some time for you to figure out what system and what type of routine works for you. So make sure that you give yourself some grace while you figure out your new routine. It is okay if you do still use cloth and disposable. As I mentioned, that there were several times where we just would grab a disposable diaper for the sake of my husband and sometimes for my own sanity too. So it's okay if you do decide to do both. If you do decide to give cloth diapers a go and then it's a firm no, just recognize that it's most important to figure out a system that works for you and your family. If you're a mom who's passionate about prepping, make sure you go check out Eagle Eye Prepping's channel. But if you're wondering how much you can save by using cloth diapers, you'll want to watch this video next. In it, I also discuss the different types of cloth diaper systems that are available for use. Until we hang out again, take what's helpful, leave the rest, or modify it to help you best and create your own heart home.